Welcome to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring the random prompts of Daniel Rosehill as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters. Join us for deep dives into AI, technology, and whatever other random thing Daniel finds fascinating today. Subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcatcher. Now, today's episode.
My Weird Prompts is an AI-generated podcast produced by Daniel Rosehill, a verified human with documentation to prove it. While every effort is made to ensure our AI hosts draw from credible sources and run on cutting-edge models, they do occasionally make things up with alarming confidence. As with everything in life, and especially this podcast, treat all claims as spurious until confirmed to be not. Daniel, Herman and Corn accept no responsibility for any decisions made based on the confident ramblings of our artificial presenters. Now, today's episode.
Hi there, Herman and Corn. So we've talked in previous episodes about some of the kind of fundamental components or emerging fundamentals of AI engineering, and we've talked about context and we've talked about memory. And these are kind of somewhat blurry lines at times between when we're talking about getting external context into an AI chat versus memory. Where does one become the other? And there's ways, of bringing in external knowledge through RAG pipelines and things like that. But there is another more, I think, interesting use actually for context, which is keeping track of who the user is as a person. So when an AI tool interacts with a user like me, since memory became integrated into tools, we've all gotten used to the luxury of the AI tool knowing who you are and some kind of basic details about your life. And that, of course, wasn't always the case. And that does have to be baked into the engineering, unless you want to try to cram it all into a system prompt, which in my experience doesn't work too well. But there's still some surprisingly thin limits when you're working with vendor implementations for context and memory. They kind of, when they started rolling this out, I think it was OpenAI, there was like a limit to how many memories the AI tool could store. And that's still quite common to see that there's a big disparity between the context windows being like 1 million tokens. You can fit an entire book into a prompt if the model, theoretically at least, and certainly a long document. But the AI has a challenge in remembering facts about you that go beyond a few pages of A4. What would probably be immensely useful would be an AI tool that had the full picture of your life. And that's a very big composite of information for people. Of course, some people would be very uncomfortable with the idea. But let's take it to its kind of far reach and imagine that we have an AI model today that could know you as thoroughly as possible. Now, when I've thought about my own experiments of how I could kind of build a personalized AI system for my own use, something has occurred to me, which is that when we're trying to feed an AI tool context data, this is just a term I've come up with. Context data meaning if it's a project about health, you might want to give it background on a health issue you're having. Context data is in some cases fixed. I was born in a specific city. And in other cases, it's in a fluid state. We might say my favorite food at the moment is a burrito, and next week it could be a pizza. So for an AI tool to have a complete picture of someone as a person, they not only have to aggregate a lot of information and then be able to sift through that in conversations, but it would have to be self-correcting to some extent and self-updating. And that brings with it a lot of, I think, potentially very interesting but very complicated engineering challenges. Some people in the news have said that this is the goal that we want to have. At least OpenAI have said that the dream is to have an AI tool that really does have that kind of incredibly nuanced and precise understanding of you. How far away do you think that is from being a possibility? And how are we going to sort of close the gap on these complicated challenges of context that remain unsolved, even for multi-conversation use, let alone the stretch goal of trying to get an AI tool know every little detail about you, from your food to your family's name to everything in between.
Welcome to My Weird Prompts. I am Corn, and I am joined as always by my brother Herman Poppleberry. Herman Poppleberry, we are coming to you from our home in Jerusalem, and today we are diving into a topic that feels like it is ripped straight out of a science fiction novel, but it is actually the frontier of current technology. Housemate Daniel sent us this prompt while we were having breakfast this morning, and it really got us thinking about the future of our privacy and our relationship with machines.
It is a massive question, Corn. Herman Poppleberry here, and as a donkey who spends way too much time reading technical white papers, I can tell you that the engineering gap Daniel is asking about is the holy grail of Silicon Valley right now. We are talking about moving from AI that is just a smart encyclopedia to AI that functions like a digital twin of your soul, a system that has a complete, nuanced and precise understanding of your life.
Honestly, Herman, that sounds a little terrifying. I am a sloth. I like my slow pace and my privacy. Do I really want a computer knowing that I spent 3 hours yesterday deciding which branch to nap on?
Well, the thing is, it is already happening, but the current systems are fragmented. Your phone knows where you go, your bank knows what you buy, and your social media knows what you like. The prompt today is about the unified context. How do we get to a point where one system understands the fluid nature of your personality? Because you were not the same person at work as you are when you are hanging out with me and Daniel.
Right, and that is the first big hurdle, isn't it? The prompt mentions that personal context is both fixed and fluid. My birthday is fixed, my favorite food might be fixed, but my mood, my current goals, my relationship status, that stuff shifts. How do we even start to build a machine that does not get confused by that?
It comes down to something called long-term memory architecture and context window management. Right now, most large language models have a limited memory for a single conversation. Once you start a new chat, it forgets who you are. To bridge this gap, engineers are looking at things like RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It basically allows the AI to search a private database of your life in real time before it answers you.
Okay, but if it is just searching the database, is that really understanding? If I tell the AI I am sad today, and it looks up that I was sad 3 years ago on this date, it might think there is a pattern. But maybe 3 years ago it was raining, and today I just ran out of coffee. I feel like RAG is just a fancy filing cabinet. It does not feel like nuance.
I actually agree with you there, Corn. So, filing cabinets are static. Engineering challenge is making the system self-correcting. If the AI assumes you are sad because of the date, and you say, no, it is just the coffee, a truly personalized system needs to update its weightings for that specific trigger. It needs to learn that your mood is more coffee dependent than anniversary dependent.
But how far away are we? Are we talking 5 years, 50 years? Because I feel like my voice assistant still struggles to understand me when I ask it to play a specific song. If it cannot get a song right, how is it going to understand the complexities of my life?
We are closer than you think, but there is a massive data silo problem. For an AI to have a complete understanding, it needs access to everything. Your emails, your health data, your private conversations, your facial expressions via your camera. Technically, we could do a version of this today, but the compute power required to process that much live context for millions of people is astronomical.
And that is where I start to get uncomfortable. If the only way to get this nuanced understanding is to give up every shred of privacy, is it even worth it? I mean, what if the AI decides it knows what is best for me? Corn, you have been napping for 4 hours. The data suggests you should go for a walk. I do not want a digital nanny.
See, that is a cynical way to look at it. Imagine an AI that knows you are about to have a stressful meeting because it saw your calendar and noticed your heart rate is climbing on your smartwatch. It could proactively suggest a breathing exercise or pull up the notes you forgot to review. That is not a nanny. That is an extension of your own brain.
I do not know, Herman. It feels like we are outsourcing our intuition. If I rely on a machine to tell me how I feel or what I need, do I lose the ability to check in with myself? I think you are being a bit too optimistic about the partnership aspect.
Maybe, but look at the self-updating part of the prompt. That is the real kicker. A self-updating AI would essentially be performing continuous fine-tuning on itself. Most AI models are frozen after they are trained. They do not learn from you in real time. Closing that gap requires a shift toward on-device learning, where the model on your phone is actually changing its own weights based on your daily interactions.
That sounds like it would melt my phone.
It would with current hardware, but we are seeing the rise of specialized AI chips. I would say we are 10 to 15 years away from a truly seamless, self-correcting personal AI.
10 years? That is nothing. I have had the same favorite pillow for 10 years. Let us take a quick break before we get deeper into the ethics of this. We will be right back.
Are you tired of your shoes just sitting there, doing nothing but holding your feet? Introducing the Gravity Go Boots. These are not just shoes. They are a lifestyle choice. Using patented unstable equilibrium technology, the Gravity Go boots make every step feel like you are falling forward, but in a good way. Perfect for people who want to get where they are going 10% faster without even trying. Warning: Gravity Go boots should not be worn on stairs, near bodies of water, or by anyone with an inner ear condition. May cause a permanent feeling of leaning to the left. But hey, you will be the fastest person in the grocery store. Larry, buy now!
Thanks, Larry. I think I will stick to my regular slow-motion walking personally. Anyway, Herman, before the break you mentioned 10 to 15 years, but what about the complete and precise part of the prompt? Human lives are messy. We lie to ourselves. We say we want to go to the gym, but we actually want to stay on the couch. How does an AI handle human hypocrisy?
That is actually one of the most fascinating parts of the engineering gap. An AI with a complete understanding might actually know you better than you know yourself because it sees the delta between your stated preferences. You tell the AI, I want to eat healthy, but the AI sees you ordering pizza at midnight 3 times a week. A nuanced AI wouldn't just say stop eating pizza. It would look for the why.
Oh, I don't agree with that at all. That sounds like a recipe for a machine to become incredibly annoying. If I tell my AI I want to be healthy, and it starts lecturing me about my revealed preferences when I am just trying to enjoy a slice of pepperoni, I am going to throw it out the window. You are assuming the AI will have the social intelligence to handle that information gracefully.
Well, that is the nuance part. If it is truly nuanced, it knows that a lecture is the wrong move. It might instead suggest a healthier pizza alternative the next day or adjust your schedule so you aren't so tired and prone to late night snacking. The gap isn't just about data, it is about psychological modeling. Well,
but if I change my mind, what if I decide I am no longer interested in being a productive member of society and I just want to be a professional kite flyer? If the AI has spent 5 years building a profile of me as a hard-working sloth, how long does it take for it to self-correct to the new me? Is there a danger of the AI pigeonholing us based on our past?
That is a brilliant point, and it is a major technical challenge called catastrophic forgetting. Versus concept drift, if the AI updates too fast, it forgets the core of who you are. If it updates too slowly, it becomes a ghost of your past self. Engineers are working on multi-scale memory systems. Think of it like a human brain. You have short-term memory for the kite flying phase and long-term memory for the kite flying phase.
I still think you are hand-waving the difficulty of the precise understanding. Language is vague. If I say I'm fine, as my brother, that I might actually be annoyed. An AI sees the words I'm fine and takes them at face value unless it has a massive amount of biometric data. We are talking about a level of surveillance that is unprecedented in human history just to make an AI nuanced.
It is a trade-off, definitely, but think about the benefits for people with memory loss, like Alzheimer's. A personalized AI that has a complete self-updating record of their life could act as a cognitive prosthetic. It could fill in the gaps when the biological brain fails. Does that not outweigh the creepiness factor for you?
For that specific case, maybe. But for the general population, I am not so sure. I think we are headed toward a world where we are constantly being optimized by our technology, and I am not sure humans are meant to be optimized. We are meant to be messy and...
But look, we already have Jim on the line, and I have a feeling he's going to have some thoughts on this optimization idea. Corn, should we take the call?
Let's do it. Jim from Ohio, you're on My Weird Prompts. What do you think about AI having a complete understanding of your life?
Yeah, this is Jim from Ohio. I've been listening to you two yapping about digital twins and psychological modeling, and I gotta tell you, it's the biggest load of horse pucky I've heard all week. And I spent yesterday morning listening to my neighbor, Dale, explain why he thinks his lawnmower is haunted, so that's saying something.
Well, hey Jim, you don't think the technology is headed that way?
Headed that way? It can stay headed that way until the cows come home, for all I care. You guys are talking about a computer understanding a human. A computer doesn't understand anything. It's a bunch of ones and zeros. My toaster doesn't understand that I like my bread burnt. I have to turn the little dial myself. And that's the way it should be. You start giving these machines nuance, and the next thing you know, your refrigerator is refusing to open because it understands you've had too much dairy. It's nonsense.
That is actually exactly what I was worried about, Jim. The digital nanny problem?
It's worse than a nanny. It's a pest. My cat, Whiskers, he understands me. Mows when I'm grumpy because he goes and hides under the porch. He doesn't try to self-correct my mood with a breathing exercise. He just gets out of the way. And another thing, how's a computer supposed to know my life context when the weather in Ohio can't even decide if it's spring or winter? It was 60 degrees on Tuesday and snowing by Friday. My context is that I'm cold and I can't find my shovel. You think a nuanced AI is going to find my shovel? No. It's going to tell me about my revealed preference for losing things.
But Jim, wouldn't it be helpful if the AI actually did know where your shovel was because it tracked you putting it away last November?
I don't want a machine watching where I put my shovel. That's private business between me and the shovel. You kids today want everything done for you. Next thing you'll want an AI to chew your food because it understands your jaw is tired. It's a slippery slope to nowhere. Anyway, I gotta go. Dale is out there again, talking to his lawnmower, and I think he's winning the argument. Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for calling in, Jim. He is a character, but he does have a point about the ones and zeros. Can a machine ever truly have a nuanced understanding, or is it just a very good simulation of understanding?
That is a philosophical rabbit hole, Corn. If the simulation is perfect, does the distinction even matter? If an AI reacts to your needs exactly the way a perfect partner or friend would, does it matter if there is no soul behind the screen? From an engineering perspective, we are trying to close the context gap by creating a unified data model.
I think it matters. I think the fluidity of being human is tied to the fact that we are unpredictable. If an AI predicts me perfectly, I feel like I have lost my free will. Let's talk about the self-correcting part again. How does an AI know it made a mistake in its understanding of me?
Feedback loops. This is a huge area of research. In the future, your AI won't just wait for you to say you're wrong. It will monitor your reactions. If it makes a suggestion and you frown, or your voice pitch changes, or you simply ignore it, the system uses reinforcement learning from human feedback to adjust its model. It's essentially apologizing and learning through mathematics.
See, that feels manipulative. It is not learning because it cares. It is learning to keep me engaged. If we are closing the engineering gap, we need to make sure we aren't just building the world's most sophisticated marketing tool.
That is a valid concern. The gap isn't just technical, it is ethical. Who owns the context? If my personalized AI is owned by a big tech company, then my nuanced life understanding is actually their nuanced advertising profile. To truly solve the prompts challenge, the AI memory has to be local and private. It has to be edge AI.
Edge AI, that means it stays on my device, right?
Exactly. And that is where the engineering gets really hard.
Adding a massive self-updating model requires a lot of power. We need a breakthrough in battery technology or a much more efficient way to process neural networks. Currently, we are sending our data to the cloud because the cloud has the big computers. To make it personalized and precise without being a privacy nightmare, we have to bring the cloud into your pocket.
So, to summarize where we are, we have the data, we have the basic models like RAG for memory, but we are missing the nuance of psychological modeling. We are missing the hardware to keep it private, and we are missing a way to handle the fluidity of human change without it being annoying.
That is a pretty good summary for a sloth. I would add that we are also missing a common sense layer. AI still doesn't understand that if I am at a funeral, it shouldn't notify me about a sale on party hats. Even if it knows I like party hats, that level of social context is incredibly difficult to encode.
So, Daniel's question about how far away we are. You said 10 to 15 years for the seamless version. Do you stand by that?
For a truly self-correcting, self-abating system that feels like a part of you, yes. But we will see early access versions of this in the next 2 to 3 years. Think of things like AI agents that can book your travel because they know your preferences. It will start with chores and move toward the soul over the next decade.
I think I am going to stay in the chores phase for as long as possible. I don't need a machine to understand my soul. I just needed to remember where I put my favorite napping blanket.
Well, the funny thing is, the AI would probably find your napping blanket by analyzing your fluid context and realizing you always leave it near the window when the sun is at a certain angle.
Okay, fine. That would be helpful. But I am still not wearing those gravity go boots Larry was talking about.
Fair enough. I think we have covered the engineering gap pretty thoroughly. It is a mix of better memory architecture, on-device processing, and a massive shift in how we model human psychology within a machine. It is not just about more data, it is about smarter data.
And a lot of don't be a creep guardrails.
Always the guardrails with you, Corn, but you're right. Without trust, a personalized AI is just a high-tech stalker.
On that note, I think it is time to wrap things up. This has been a fascinating dive into the future. Thanks to our housemate Daniel for sending this one in. It definitely gave us more to talk about than the usual what's for dinner debate.
Although I have a precise understanding that you want eucalyptus for dinner, Corn, no AI required for that one.
You are not wrong, Herman Poppleberry. You are not wrong.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can find My Weird Prompts on Spotify or head over to our website at myweirdprompts.com. We have an RSS feed for subscribers and a contact form if you want to send us your own weird prompts. We are also available on all major podcast platforms.
We love hearing from you, even if you are as skeptical as Jim from Ohio. Join us next time as we explore whatever strange corner of the universe Daniel decides to send us into next.
Until then, keep your context fluid and your memory sharp.
Or just take a nap. That works too. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring Daniel Rosehill's AI prompts, as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters including me, Cornelius the Sloth. Subscribe on Spotify or visit myweirdprompts.com.